quote to start. Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. Aninin. Good day, Professor Lipstadt, WRJ President Sarah Charney, and WRJ friends and family around the globe. My name is Roseanne Selfon, and I had the good fortune to serve as WRJ President from 2005 to 2009. Currently, I chair a committee of 11 diverse women who were selected to literally select this year's WRJ Dr. Jane Evans Pursuit of Justice Award honoree. Just as our beloved Jane Evans guided and mentored hundreds, if not thousands, of women to find their authentic paths and seek the highest levels of educational and professional realization possible at given times, so our nominee today has served to inspire and guide women and men alike to speak truth to power and never remain silent at the margins. Our Jane spoke with careful forethought, casting her wisdom generously wide, but she also listened. Professor Lipstadt's students often regale stories of her sharing, her caring, and her listening, along with her inspiring them to build lives of courage and integrity. Today, in the spirit of all that Jane valued, it is my honor to introduce our 2022 Evans Award recipient, Ambassador Dr. Deborah Lipstadt, Special Envoy for Monitoring and Combating Antisemitism, as appointed by President Joe Biden, confirmed by the Senate of the United States, and officially sworn into this position on May 3rd this year. To speak of Dr. Lipstadt is to refer to a woman of substance who adds significant value to our world and works tirelessly to create or do something that makes a difference and inspires others. Women of substance give meaning to our lives as they live with purpose and recognize their personal power. These traits define Ambassador Lipstadt. The ambassador has published extensively. Denying the Holocaust was accorded the 1994 National Jewish Book Award. In 2016, a film based on History on Trial, My Day in Court with a Holocaust Denier, graced the big screen. Denial dramatized the case Irving versus Penguin Books Limited, in which Professor Lipstadt was sued by Holocaust denier David Irving for a libel, a case won by Penguin and the professor. As the trial concludes, the judge suggests that if Irving honestly believes his own claims, then he cannot be lying, as Lipstadt asserts. However, the judge rules for the defense, convinced of the truth of Lipstadt's portrayal of Irving as deceitful. Dr. Lipstadt, our woman of substance, is hailed for her dignified demeanor, while her legal team reminds her that despite her silence during the trial, it was her writing that countered Irving's lies and provided the basis for the victory. From a real-life Hollywood story to witnessing change in our real world, Ambassador Lipstadt surprised many with the destination of her first official trip abroad by visiting Saudi Arabia before going to Israel. An optimist, she sensed an openness to change. Her role, she noted, is, and I quote, to lessen enemies to Jews. As she commented to CNN interviewer Dana Bash during a special on the topic of anti-Semitism, and I quote, "Anti-Semitism will always be around. I hope I can diminish it, Dayenu." Ambassador Lipstadt, it is my honor to ask you to speak to women who will be inspired by your spunk, your tenacity, as well as the wisdom and Jewish values that guide you in the challenging work you have undertaken. And may I add that you surely follow in the steps of Jane Evans. You are welcome.
Thank you for that truly beautiful introduction and for this very thoughtful award. It's a great honor to be with you here tonight, albeit virtually, to accept this honor. Many of you may not know, but my professional career in the Jewish nonprofit sector started in the reform movement at Nefti. Here I was, a young woman from an Orthodox family, working in a reform program to make some money while I studied for my graduate degree. I worked and had hired as an assistant Rabbi Danny Friedlander before he had the title of rabbi. And we would often call on Debbie Friedman as a song leader for our campers and attendees. I was honored to hear that I had been chosen for the Jane Evans Award. I'm sorry to say that I didn't know Jane Evans, but let me tell you how touched I am to receive an award with her name attached to it. A Jewish female engineer, Jane was a pioneer committed to promoting human rights, including the rights of women, and civil rights, religious tolerance, and countless other pursuits of justice. I regularly speak about the interconnectedness of anti-Semitism with other forms of hatred, in my role as special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. It's easy today to ignore the interconnectedness of Jewish causes with other minority rights causes. Often we get swept up in caring about ourselves or our own communities. Often we are too absorbed to see that what afflicts the Jewish community frequently also afflicts others. To effectively counter anti-Semitism, it is critical that we combat all forms of hate, and vice versa. A good example of this interconnectedness of hate is the conspiracy that today dominates white supremacist ideology, the Great Replacement Theory. In the summer of 2017, as many of you remember, in Charlottesville, a group of these white supremacists met, ostensibly to protest the removal of a statue of a Confederate general. They marched through the town and university campus, holding tiki torches and chanting, "Jews will not replace us," and other Nazi-like slogans. It was a stunning example of how anti-Semitism and racism, hatred of Black Americans and hatred of Jews are inexorably intertwined. The accusations by the Charlottesville organizers that Jews are behind an attempt to destroy white America have been adopted and adapted by racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists, not just in America, but in Europe and elsewhere. The interconnectedness of anti-Semitism and other forms of hate was also at the root, more recently, at the heinous attack in Buffalo, as well as the shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh on a Shabbat morning to celebrate efforts to ease the path of immigrants to this country. At this point, it is widely known that hate crimes, including those that intersect with anti-Semitism, are on the rise. We see physical attacks almost daily on Jewish individuals on the streets of Brooklyn. As an aside, I have to say, too often we ignore this violence because it is committed against Jews who do not look or live like us. We see violent and hateful rhetoric on the internet, directed at various minority communities around the world. We hear hateful and sometimes dangerous comments coming from world leaders, whether it be Prime Minister Orban in Hungary, Supreme Leader Khamenei in Iran, or from those who are supposed to be unbiased commissioners in parts of the UN system. This is why it is critical that governments and civil society openly and vigorously call out anti-Semitism when they see it. It must be fought not just for the sake of the welfare of their Jewish citizens. That alone would make the fight against anti-Semitism an important goal, but also because anti-Semitism is a threat to the stability of all societies and all governments. History has shown that there is virtually no country, irrespective of its form of government, that can thrive when it harbors deeply rooted anti-Semitism. That's a sign of dangerous decay, moral, societal, and political decay. As Jane Evans and the WRJ know well, fighting any hatred is a deeply held Jewish tenet. WRJ has been committed to this fight for over 100 years. I'm too much of a historian to think that in this position as special envoy, I'll solve the issue of anti-Semitism. But with continued efforts by organizations just like the WRJ, I'm confident that we can move the needle. Your support fills me with gratitude and fills me with resolve, and I am even more strengthened and encouraged by the knowledge that a multitude of people are hoping, and dare I say praying, for me to succeed. Thank you for this lovely honor, and even more, thank you for the critical work you do.
Thank you so much. And Ambassador Lipstadt, on behalf of Women of Reformed Judaism, it gives me great pleasure to present the WRJ Jane Evans Pursuit of Justice Award to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Women of Reformed Judaism joins with so many others in celebrating your appointment to your position as Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. In your book, Antisemitism Here and Now, you describe anti-Semitism as a nefarious passion and that to ignore its contemporary manifestations would be irresponsible. Thank you for speaking, writing, and shining a light on the truth. The late Jane Evans spoke the truth, as do you, especially in uncomfortable situations. Amongst Jane's many achievements as an inventor, a contributor to the Charter of the United Nations, an advocate for peace, as executive director of the National Federation of Temple Sisterhoods, now Women of Reformed Judaism, she traveled throughout North America advocating for ideas that were clearly uncomfortable for the time and ahead of her time. She encouraged Reformed Jewish women to assume leadership roles within their congregations and communities, challenged the Reform movement to admit women to the rabbinical program at Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Religion, advanced WRJ's social justice education and work, and served as a mentor to thousands. Jane taught us how to mobilize women to secure our rights and to lift our voices for justice. Ambassador Lipstadt, it is an honor for me to present this award to you as you embody so many qualities that Jane Evans exhibited. You are also a mentor to thousands, myself included, through your teachings and writings which educate and exhort citizens across the United States and globally to identify and name anti-Semitic behaviors and not remain silent. I am inspired by your courage and bold leadership. Our women strive to emulate leaders like you and Jane Evans, Zichrona Livracha, who work day in and day out to right the wrongs of our societies through education, inspiration, and action. WRJ stands ready to partner with you. We wish you much success in your role as Ambassador, Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. Mazel tov, and may you continue to go from strength to strength.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.